now. Thank you everyone for coming to today's live Q&A webinar. Specifically, we are covering today the 100K CLIMA Colombia Innovation Fund Grant Competition, which is generously funded by the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Grupo Energía Bogotá, and Fundación Santo Domingo. Just a couple of notes here before we begin. The recording and materials will be available to you within 5 to 6 business days. And this will be on our website under past webinars and also in a follow-up email to everyone who registered. The presentation today will be in English, but questions may be submitted in either English or Spanish. Please submit your questions in the Q&A box in the Zoom window. And please do not use the chat box to send any questions, but feel free to use the chat box to, like I said, introduce yourselves and meet other interested institutions or make any new connections if you'd like in the chat box. And in Spanish, por favor tengan en cuenta que la grabación y los materiales de hoy estarán disponibles dentro de 5 a 6 días en nuestro sitio web y por correo. Esta presentación será en inglés, pero pueden mandarnos preguntas en inglés o en español. Y por favor envíe preguntas a través del cuadro Q&A en la ventana Zoom y no, por favor, no utilicen la cajita chat para enviar preguntas. Okay. So let's go over the agenda for today. We are going to begin today with a short overview of the 100K Innovation Fund for anyone who doesn't know. Then we'll cover finding a partner institution. I'm not sure why this format got messed up, but then we'll cover how to apply, eligibility, and competition requirements, followed by proposal evaluation criteria. And lastly, we'll have time for questions and answer, a Q&A portion. And my name is Mariana Cabrera Figueroa. I am the program officer for Partners of the Americas, and specifically the 100,000 Strong in the Americas Innovation Fund, or for short, 100K. So just a little bit of background on the 100K Innovation Fund. So the Innovation Fund is a public-private sector partnership and collaboration among the Bureau of Western Hemispheric Affairs at the U.S. Department of State, U.S. embassies, and Partners of the Americas, working with companies, foundations, regional government entities, and academic networks through the US, Latin America, and the Caribbean. And the goals of the 100K Innovation Fund align with US priorities to build institutional capacity, increase access to inclusive educational opportunities, stimulate economic prosperity, and contribute to workforce development. And just some brief 100K Innovation Fund highlights, since we have been operating for 10 years now, since 2013. We have awarded 321 grants to teams of 585 higher education institutions, or HEIs, across the Western Hemisphere in 26 countries and 49 US states. We've benefited over 10,000 students and counting, and have had over 1,200 grant proposals submitted since 2014, which was our first competition. In our innovation network, we have over 2,300 higher education institutions and counting, and we have received over $20 million from public-private sectors to support the Innovation Fund since its founding in 2013. So, for anyone who is new here, where do you start with the innovation or getting involved with the 100K Innovation Fund? We always recommend you start by joining the 100K Innovation Network. And I do have the link here on the left side and a small screenshot of where you can find the button to join the Innovation Network on our website here on the right. So as you can see in the orange circle, it says Join the Innovation Network. And once you click Join, then it will take you to the page. And as a member of the Innovation Network, you will be connected with over 2,300 higher education institutions across the Western Hemisphere, and you will receive news and updates about competitions, conferences, webinars, and more from us. And that way you can stay up to date with any new items or competitions that we have coming up. Okay, so specifically for this competition, let's cover how to apply. Step 1. you will have to go to the online application portal. As you can see here, I do have the link at the top and also a screenshot of where you can find the application portal on our website. And we do recommend that you read the request for proposals before you actually apply. But once you do read the request for proposals and you decide that you are going to submit an online application, you go here to grants and this section called application portal. Step 2 is that you will have to create a profile. So as you can see here, it just asks basic information, your name, your position, your institution, address, etc. Then you will have to submit a work email. And so our step 3 is to use an appropriate email for this section. Your account and your proposal that you submit through the application portal can only be accessed with this email address. And all communications about your proposal and your submission will be sent to this specific email address. So please make sure that it's closely monitored and that you have access to it continuously. Step 4 is to complete the required tasks. As you can see here, once you create a profile and you complete your email section, then you will see these 2 required tasks, which is 1, the application form itself, which is where you will submit the proposal, and 2, the partner information request. And the partner information request, it's simple information about who your partners are in your proposal. And we do recommend that you send this as soon as you know who your partners are going to be for your proposal, because this information request is also due the same day that your application is due. If you have any more questions on the application guidelines, please visit our website at this link here. And you can also attend any upcoming webinars or learn about our past webinars on our website. In terms of eligibility for this specific competition, as you can see, we are accepting proposals for the 100K CLIMA Colombia competition until January 31st, 2024. The eligible countries in here are the US and Colombia. And for your actual projects, what you will have to do is teams of HEIs from the US and from Colombia should use 100K grant funds to create and implement innovative, inclusive student and or faculty training and exchange programs in the US and Latin America. And if choosing option 2, which I will go into in the next few slides, you will have to both create and implement innovative, inclusive student and faculty training and exchange programs in the US and Colombia. And you'll also have to create bilateral focused climate action projects that contribute to climate action solutions. For eligible institutions for this competition, any institutions that are higher education institutions located and legally registered in the US and in Colombia are able to submit a proposal. The institutions located in the US and Colombia are the only eligible institutions. Institutions from other countries will not be eligible, and your team does need to have at least 1 institution from the US and at least 1 institution from Colombia. And proposals that include 1 or more minority-serving institution in the United States will be found favorable during the evaluation process. And so this is HBCUs, HSIs, TCUs, and or community colleges, or any other minority-serving institutions in the US. And just as a note here at the bottom, while your institution can submit any number of proposals, the 100K team will not be selecting more than 2 winning proposals per institution for each 100K competition. So that just means that we want to make sure that our grants are going to a diversity of institutions, and 1 institution isn't winning more than 2 grants for each competition. But you can submit any number of proposals if you'd like. Okay, so now we're going to go into proposal options. So we do have two options in this specific competition. And the first option, number one, has 11 grants available to proposals focused on innovative, inclusive student faculty exchanges. And these 11 grants are open to all Colombian departments, but preferred departments include these departments, which I won't read them all out, but they are on the screen. And for eligible thematic areas for proposal option number one, 3 of the grants in this section will be allocated to programs focused on the development and sustainable management of cacao and complementary crops, such as plantain, cassava, chili, bell peppers, mango, and Tahiti lime, and their value chains. And on the left, I do just have some examples of the eligible thematic areas, but if you want to read more about more in depth on the areas that are eligible, please read the request for proposals on our website, which does list many more themes that are eligible for this competition. Proposal option number 2. So this proposal option does have a little bit more money in the grants that we are awarding to teams. And these are 5 grants available to proposals that include both climate action research connected to a climate action project and a student faculty exchange and training program. So that's the 2 aspects. And these 5 grants are open to all Colombian departments, but 2 to 3 grants in this option will be awarded to projects that include at least one HEI based in the Caribbean region of Colombia. And this does not mean that if your institution is located elsewhere that you won't get a grant. It just makes sure that, like we said, we have a diversity of where the institutions that win 100K Innovation Fund grants, where they're located. And eligible thematic areas for proposal option number 2 are very similar. Here are just a few of the options, but as I said before, if you want more detail about other thematic areas that are considered eligible, please read the request for proposals. And again, 3 of these grants will also be allocated to programs focused on any of these areas and on the development and sustainable management of cacao and complementary crops. So just a quick overview of the 2 options. Option number 1, we said, has 11 grants, and these grants are of up to $27,174 for the team. And option 1 focuses on the student and faculty training and exchange programs. Option number 2 has 5 grants of up to $50,000 for the proposal team. And this option has 2 aspects and focuses on both the student and faculty exchange programs, but also the climate action projects. So you do have options here based on the capacity of your institutions. Some additional requirements and considerations. For program design, for the level of study, students can be at any level of post-secondary education, such as undergraduate, graduate, or doctoral students. All students are eligible as long as they are at a higher education institution. For student credit, it is required that students receive some level of credit from their home institution during or as a result of the proposed program. And this doesn't have to be a letter grade. It can also be for credit or no credit, but as long as they do receive some sort of academic credit so that they're working towards their graduation requirements by participating in your programs. And lastly, we do have a diverse students special consideration. And this consideration will be given to proposals focused on programs that benefit underserved, non-traditional, and/or diverse student populations. And we do ask that you please include a student diversity recruitment plan in your proposal so that we can see how you plan to actually recruit diverse students. In terms of in-person student mobility. So in-person student mobility is required in at least one direction, as you can see here at the bottom. But Bidirectional student mobility is preferred, but it is not required. So in case your institution does not have the capacity or there are some issues with your program implementation, then it is fine if students only travel in one direction, but bidirectional is always preferred so that all students can benefit from participating in your programs. Next, there's no minimum or maximum number of students that need to participate in your programs for your proposal to be chosen, and there's no minimum or maximum duration of stay of the students or faculty for your programs to be chosen. Okay, so let's cover the competition timeline. The application deadline is coming up soon on January 31st, 2024 at 11:59 Eastern Time. So that is in about 20 days. So you still have a little bit of time. The notification of the status of your proposal will be going out in April 2024. We don't have an exact date for that yet, but that is when we will be ending our review process. Then in May to August 2024, we will be awarding grant funds to the winners of this competition. And then the period of performance will be from June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. And these dates, the period of performance, these dates are very important because this is when you will be implementing your programs. So in your proposal, you need to take into account this year period of performance to see when you'll be able to have any project activities. So that would be either when you'll be able to have a course, when you'll be able to send students, etc. It does need to be in between these dates. But you can start planning for them earlier. And please note that all of these dates are subject to small changes. Okay, so a lot of the questions that we have around now are, I'm really interested in this competition, but I don't have a partner institution yet, and I can't find one. How can I find a partner institution? So first, we do always partner with Education USA advising centers so that to help provide you with the tools that they have. And once you receive these presentation materials, you'll be able to click there on the link to find an Education USA advising center, and they'll be able to either give you advice, give you tools, or help you actually find a partner institution who's also interested in the same competition or themes as you are. Next, you can join the 100K Innovation Network, as we said at the beginning of the webinar. The Innovation Network, as I said, has over 2,300 higher education institutions, not just in the US and Latin America and the Caribbean, but around the world. And so this is a great tool for you to be able to use because we do have a directory. And through there, you can chat or email any other members of the Innovation Network. And in this way, you can make new contacts. Another thing that we also have on the 100K Innovation Network is we have forums on each competition. So if you're having trouble finding a partner, you can post on that forum and say, hey, my institution is located in the US, for example, and I am looking for a Colombian partner. Our project is focused in this area, and we'd like to have students travel around these dates. And giving that information can help other people also find projects that interest them. Third, you can connect with others from this webinar, which is why I suggested that you introduce yourselves in the chat box, because we would love for you to create new connections and network through our webinar, because everyone here is interested in at least learning about this competition. And then lastly, if you are having trouble, feel free to contact the 100K team at our email, which is 100kstrongamericas@partners.net. And lastly, you will be receiving a list of institutions seeking partners from today's webinar in the follow-up email that we send. And This list comes from the registration that you filled out, where there was a question about, would you like to share your information and are you looking for a partner? If so, in what themes? And we will use that information to make a list and we'll send it out to everyone who registered for this webinar. Okay, so we do have some frequently asked questions here, which I can at least answer right now in case you are going to ask in the Q&A box. The first one is, how many institutions can be involved in my proposed project? There is no limit to the number of institutions that can be involved in the project, but we just do have the requirement that you at least have one institution from the US and one institution from Colombia in your team. From there, you can feel free to add on more Colombian institutions or more US institutions to your team based on all of your institutional capacities and where you are looking, in what areas you're looking to find partners in. The amount that your team receives does not change with the number of institutions on your team, so just take that into account. But since we do ask for your institutions to provide some level of cost share, then this is one way to minimize the amount of cost share that your specific institution has to delegate for to match the 100K fund. If you have 4 institutions, then it's a little bit easier to share costs or share costs. The next question is, which institution has to submit the application? The primary applicant HEI can be either from the US or Colombia. Please keep in mind that the institution that submits the application will be considered the primary institution, and this will be the institution that we have contact with consistently and who will be responsible for receiving the 100K funds, for dispersing the funds in between your teammates, and who will also be responsible for reporting back to the 100K Innovation Fund and to Partners of the Americas. Can we include a partner HEI that is not from the US or Colombia? For this Innovation Fund competition, only institutions from the US and Colombia are eligible to apply and be beneficiaries. In other competitions, it is possible, but not in this competition, unfortunately. How many proposals can my institution submit? Like I mentioned before, there's no limit to the number of proposals that your institution can submit. However, a single institution will not receive more than 2 grants in one competition. And like I said, that's to ensure that we have a diversity of institutions who are winning our 100K Innovation Fund grants. Okay. So to build your 100K proposal, I included here just a small snapshot of the evaluation criteria, which you'll be evaluated at. And this will be when you submit the proposal, you will have to include the technical narrative, which is 80% of your evaluation, which includes the cover page, table of contents, executive summary and program description, sustainability plan, capacity challenges and opportunities, and monitoring and evaluation plan. And so the technical narrative should be 15 pages maximum, please no more than 15 pages. And the budget, which should be 5 pages maximum, includes a budget summary table, which should be a list of items that you will be using the grant funds for and that you will be cost sharing for. And then a descriptive budget narrative describing how you reached the numbers in your budget summary table and why you decided to use the funds for those specific items. And then lastly, low indirect costs are a part of the evaluation criteria. We recommend no more than 20% indirect costs for the 100K grant funds from your institution, but there is technically no limit. There is just the recommendation that we give. For supporting documents, there is no page limit for the overall documents. You will have to submit here letters of support from each partner institution. And they should be brief, just a letter explaining that your partner is committed to the same program as you are, and that you will be implementing this project if you win the 100K grant. Next, the biography and resumes of the project team, and both of these are required. And please, for the biographies, limit the biographies to 2 pages maximum per person. We do not need to look into your life and see every single accomplishment that you've had. We just want to make sure that you do have the institutional capacity, and that you have members on your team who are ready to take on these sort of projects. And then any additional materials that you feel will support your proposal, please go ahead and submit that in the supporting documents section. Okay. So for helpful resources, you can find more resources on our website. Under this link will take you to the format of the proposals that you will have to submit, which are in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, I believe, which you don't need in this competition, but in English and in Spanish. You can read the request for proposals on our website, which explains more in detail about the actual competition, about the projects, what we're looking for, who our donors are, etc. And you can also watch past webinars on our website under media and then past webinars, or webinars and then past webinars. And you can access the past materials that we've also sent to anyone who registered for the webinars. This webinar was just an opportunity for a last Q&A session, but we have had webinars fully on how to apply and on tips and resources for writing 100K proposals. And those two for this specific competition and for any past competitions are on our website. Okay, so now we can begin the Q&A portion of the webinar. So please submit any questions that you have in the Q&A box in your Zoom window. Please do not utilize the chat box for questions that you have, just so that we have all questions in the same section. And if you have any questions that you realize after the webinar, then you can refer to our grants frequently asked questions page for answers to the most commonly asked questions. If we don't have time for all of the questions here today, then we will be sending a Q&A report in the materials that we send to your emails, which include all of the questions that have been asked and the answers to those questions. But I do believe that we will have time because today we set aside more time to have this Q&A. Okay, and thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Please feel free to add your questions now in the Q&A box. Okay. Do see I have. Okay, I see we do have also somebody who is interested in finding a partner institution. Victor Mac, I believe. Feel free to send that in the chat also, and maybe you can find some interested partners. He's from the University of Oklahoma, so if we have Colombian institutions here, feel free to write any themes that you're interested in, any areas, any possible projects that you'd like to implement, so that maybe you can find partners even through the chat box. Okay. I do have a question here from William, and it's in Spanish. He says, nos envían esta presentación a los correos registrados. Okay. So, sí, les vamos a mandar la presentación y la grabación de hoy y la lista de registrados a sus correos en 5 a 6 días hábiles. Y también van a tener la presentación en nuestro sitio web bajo eh, past webinars. Okay. Do I have any more questions in English or in Spanish? Si pueden mandar sus preguntas en español también, si quieren. Okay, I do have another question. William says, solo hay plazo hasta el 31 de enero para el registro de los proyectos. Or also repeated in English. William says if the deadline is only until the 31st of January to submit the proposals, basically. And yes, sí, el plazo de esta competencia específicamente sí es hasta el 31 de enero, pero sí siempre tenemos competencias diferentes, convocatorias con Colombia, siempre tenemos y con diferentes países. Cada convocatoria que tenemos, tratamos de tener diferentes países elegibles para que todos tengan la oportunidad para eh, tener sus proyectos o registrarse eh, para las convocatorias. Yeah, and I did say that this competition does close on January 31st, so you can only submit proposals until January 31st. But we do always have competitions between the US and other countries in Latin America, and we do always have competitions with Colombia. They are one of our most common partners, just based on our donor partners that we have. So if you have a Colombian institution or a Colombian partner and you don't get to submit a proposal for this competition by this due date, don't worry, we will definitely have another competition soon. Do I have any other questions? Anything you just want to know? You're not sure, you want me to repeat? Si tienen alguna pregunta sobre algo que presentamos en este webinar y no se acuerdan o solo quieren eh, que lo, que lo pase otra vez, just let me know. We do have, I know already, a few institutions that have already applied since we're already coming up in January. If you have a question about any other processes after submitting, or anything like that, that's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions. We're here to help. We're here to make sure your process is easy. If you want, I can go to the next slide and put the email. If you have any questions or clarifications, once even the webinar is over and you realize that you had a question that you forgot, then feel free to send an email to our 100K email. And we also have an inquiry page on our website. we don't have any other questions, then we can definitely end the webinar early. Either way, like I said, I'll be here answering questions on the email or on our website. Okay, I think someone has a question. Okay, so Yamile pregunta. Ok, sí, Yamile está preguntando sobre la presentación asertiva de propuestas, especialmente en la opción 2, y al respeto a las categorías de acción, si se pueden incluir varias categorías en la propuesta. Ok, ok. So, para el proyecto de acción climática, sí hay diferentes categorías y lo que, lo que pienso que sería mejor, porque yo nunca he implementado un programa así. Entonces, no sé si mis sugerencias serían buenas para ustedes sobre los proyectos, pero la llamada para las propuestas sí está en nuestro sitio web y ahí sí tiene las diferentes categorías de acción y las categorías solo son también una sugerencia para sus proyectos, pero diferentes tipos de proyectos pueden ser eh, de estudiantes o de también docentes pueden estar incluidos en los procesos de esos del proyecto de acción climática. eh, y disculpa que no sé si tengo muchas sugerencias para el proyecto mismo. Pero lo que sí puedo sugerir es em, ir a nuestro sitio web y ahí tenemos videos de nuestros ganadores. Y ahí ellos explican sus proyectos y los intercambios que han tenido. Y ahí pueden ver los tipos de proyectos que hemos tenido en el pasado y lo que ellos han hecho. Y seguro si ustedes están buscando más información, también en la red de innovación pueden encontrar a alguien que sí ha implementado un programa en el pasado. Entonces, ellos seguro sí les pueden dar más sugerencias sobre eso em, y pueden tener un nuevo contacto por ahí. No sé si esa es la pregunta que tenía o si no le entendí bien. Okay. I'll just in English cover really quickly. Um, One of the attendees was asking about the action categories, and I can't remember them off the top of my head right now. But I don't. She asked for suggestions on how to implement the categories, and if you can choose multiple, you can choose multiple. But I personally have never implemented a climate action project, so I don't um, think that my suggestion will be as valuable as watching a video. So we do have videos from our past grantees on our website under media and grantee projects. And you can look there to see what our past grant winners have done, how they've implemented their project, and what they've done, and also some information about the exchanges if you want to learn. And another option here too is you can join the Innovation Network, and through there you can also find past grant winners, and you can ask them about how they implemented the project and which climate action project category they chose, and these sort of things. And you can also make a new contact in that way for maybe future projects. So sorry I couldn't be a little more helpful on suggestions, but that will definitely help you more, and they'll be able to help you more than my suggestions, since I just help to implement this program and not the climate action projects. Okay, do we have any other questions? Or if not, then we can go ahead and end early. Okay, I think that we will go ahead and end then the webinar early. Like I said, feel free to send any questions to our email or check our website for any more information that you need. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the webinar today and for learning a little bit more about the competition. I hope I clarified a few things, and I hope I answered a few of your questions at least. And lastly, I would like to send good luck to all of you if you are submitting a proposal. Good luck to you, and if not, then hopefully we see you in some of our future competitions. Thank you, everyone. Muchas gracias a todos.